Who caused the Civil War? James Buchanan and Roger Taney. Taney was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and James Buchanan took office as President of the United States in 1857 and served till 1861. The newly emerged evidence suggests that Buchanan got in touch with Roger Taney, the Chief Justice, right before his inauguration, and discussed with Taney, which he never should have done, the oncoming Dred Scott decision that Taney was due to render. Dred Scott had been a slave in the South. His master brought him up to the North. In the North, a state which had no slavery, the slave escaped, and he declared his freedom because he was in a free state. And the issue was Scott still a slave? And the case went to the Supreme Court, and Buchanan counseled Taney to rule in favor of the South on it and say that Scott was still a slave. Taney did so, and the Dred Scott decision said, and I quote, "The black man has no rights that a white man is bound to honor." And it said that once a slave, always a slave. It said that if you own a necklace and you carry it into another state, you still own the necklace. And even if there's a law prohibiting a necklace, it's still your necklace. And as a result, the Fugitive Slave Act was passed and acquired teeth, which said that not only is the guy still a slave when you go into the territory, but that it is the affirmative obligation of every United States citizen to arrest the former slave and turn him back to his master and send him back to the South. And that it is a crime to shelter him and a crime not to report him. What this did was it made slavery not just a Southern problem. It told the North that slavery was something it would have to live with. And even though the northern states had abolished slavery, it became clear that that meant nothing, that Southerners could move into the North and still have slaves, and in effect still have slavery. All you had to do was bring the slave with you, and he remained a slave, enforced by local law, even though your state had ruled that he could not be a slave, that slavery was abolished. So the ultimate hope was that slavery would fade out and that we could get rid of it without much of a problem. But now it became clear that not only was it not fading out, it was going to grow. And that led Seward, who was the governor of New York, to say that this was an irrepressible conflict between the North and the South. And it led Lincoln to say that a house divided against itself cannot stand, and that the nation can't exist half slave, half free. And the key element in that was Buchanan's effort to get Taney to issue the Dred Scott decision that really made the Civil War completely inevitable. Buchanan also tried very hard to get admitted to the Union as a slave state, Kansas, which had been organized by free settlers, and a vast majority of the state wanted it not to be slave. But because of a rump Congress or legislature that was called, that didn't represent anybody, because they passed a constitution allowing slavery, they sent it to Buchanan, who tried to admit Kansas as a slave state. That caused hell, and huge numbers of Northerners, including John Brown, went to Kansas to fight against the slave government and to get a free government installed there. So Buchanan did everything he could to exacerbate the situation and really force the North into a civil war. Of course, the North then elected Abraham Lincoln, and once he was elected, the South interpreted that as being really a declaration of war, and the South began to secede from the Union, even though Lincoln said he would not try to eliminate slavery, and the Civil War resulted. But the real culprits here are Taney and Buchanan. Thanks for watching.